And Brendan McGuire appears on the Western Pizza Hotline. It's the pizza that's known worldwide for a reason, loaded with toppings of Western Canadian ingredients and always cooked to perfection. And I know Brendan likes Western pizza just like the rest of us. Brendan McGuire from, so many areas. He's in the huddle, Three Down Nation, and he's also sits under trees with a CKRM hat on. What more can you ask for? Brendan, I think welcome to Cage. Go ahead.
Well, I think the background, beautiful Wascana pool, is a little more picturesque than my hat, but I was pretty stoked to put it on today. I had a meeting with some of the program people about different things today, so I was excited to come on with you.
Well, that's a legendary hat. It looks like it's got some culture now. You talked, I'm sure, with the big wigs about the Regina Rams broadcast. Of course, they're hosting the Vanier Cup. You got to be charged up, Brendan, to be the voice of the Regina Rams when they're hosting the Vanier Cup. The team looks pretty good, does it not? You're going to have a great quarterback battle there.
Yeah, with Owen Sieben and also with Noah Pelche, that'll be interesting. The defense was just lights out last year. That was a big reason why they got to the Mitchell Bowl. Lost a few really good players, but overall the foundation's all still intact. So this is a team that's built largely for 2025. So I'll be excited to see the fruits of the labor of Coach Mark McConkey and his staff once camp gets going and regular season kicks off late August.
And from what I understand, Mark's happy with his recruiting as well during the off-season.
Well, I've been taking the whole off-season off, so I haven't talked to him about that yet. But when you're hosting a national championship on a year like that, if you can't find players who want to come to your program, I'm not sure that there's another year where you will find players who want to come to the program. I was listening to you having Frank on a little bit earlier, and as we all know, there's a great laundry list of star talent that have come through the University of Regina, and even just the Rams before the university affiliation, but never before have they had the drawing card of hosting a national championship in their own backyard like they're doing this year.
And the fact is they were the second best team in youth sports last year because they went down to the wire with Laval in the Mitchell Bowl last year. You called a great game and had some great features on that broadcast. Then they went into the Vanier Cup, and it was sort of, I don't know about a cakewalk, but the Rams definitely gave Laval the harder competition, the tougher competition. So, there's hope, and the Rams had a hell of a football team last year. But let's now go from the Rams to the latest CFL news right now, Brendan, and that is, Vernon Adams Jr. not playing in Ottawa for Calgary. And now Zach Collaros is not playing against the Argonauts at home either. He's also two starting quarterbacks will not be playing this weekend. Every time I watch the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I watch Kenny Lawler make these spectacular grabs, and every time I think, how do Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans feel about this? They lost Kenny Lawler to Hamilton, and why? Well, be careful how much you pay your quarterback. Because obviously Winnipeg lost some pretty good free agents because Zach Collaros is the highest paid player in the CFL. And with Zach having a tough year so far, it exasperates because of their salary cap structure in Winnipeg, does it not?
Oh, I would have to think so. And let's not forget, they pay a pretty good dollar to their running back over in Winnipeg, too, Brady Oliveira, having a ratio changer. And, maybe they just looked at it and said, well, he's somebody that we can replace. The last time he tried to leave us, it didn't go so well when he went to the Edmonton Elks. So, you know how there are some players who are meant to just play with one team? It's like in the NHL, Luc Robitaille was never any good except when he was in Los Angeles. He had the one. He did win a Stanley Cup and score 30 goals one year with Detroit. So I lost a bet on that, actually. That's a whole other discussion. But, there's other players like Mike Saunders in the Canadian Football League had some so-so years with other teams, but when he was in Saskatchewan, he was dynamite, and he was aging when he came back, and the magic was still there. So maybe the Blue Bombers thought that Kenny Lawler was just one of those players. But the connection that he's had with Bo Levi Mitchell has been undeniable. I don't know that anybody knew for sure that Bo was going to rediscover his touch. We saw a lot of signs of it late last year, and it's really carried over into this year. And, I on the TV show this week, I just threw out a really lazy poll question. Should the Riders be at the top of the power rankings? And I said on air, of course they should be. They're 6-1. But then it was pointed out, no, not necessarily. The Cats right now would be really, really tough to beat, even for that Rider defense at Mosaic Stadium.
And you got to give Scott Milanovic, the head coach of the Tabby Cats, a lot of credit because the job he's done with Bo.
Yeah, he really has, and he's been patient too, right? Like some of us thought that Milanovic would be the perfect guy to coach the Saskatchewan Roughriders going into last offseason, and some of us thought he would be the obvious odds-on favorite. Remember, Milanovic has a good relationship with Trevor Harris from their time in Toronto, and then a big reason why Milanovic walked away from his job where he was the quarterbacks coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars was because he wanted the opportunity to coach Trevor Harris with Edmonton. But that season got wiped out because of COVID, and then the job opportunity came along with Indianapolis, and Milanovic left, and it just wasn't meant to be. So it seemed kind of obvious that the Riders should go after Milanovic, and then in comes Corey Mace, and that all came together. And last year, with the way things went for the Riders and the way the Ticats struggled early on, it just seemed so obvious that the Riders lucked out in ending up with Corey Mace and that Milanovic didn't come out here. And I still think that's the case. I mean, nobody can deny what a great addition Corey Mace has been. But things didn't go well for the Cats till late in the season. And you have to give Milanovic a lot of credit for sticking with his system, sticking with Bo, because there were a lot in Hamilton who were suggesting that maybe it was time to go with someone else. And we're learning that that was such a foolish thought because Bo is just playing lights out football right now.
Well, of course, I mean, the Riders didn't really luck out. Jeremy O'Day made the call after lots of work. And
he went with his gut, and he was right. He went with his gut, and it was the right thing to do. Oh, totally. Yeah,
and
sure.
I don't think he gets enough credit in some respects for making such a great decision. Bringing in an individual like Corey Mace, who had never been a head coach in the CFL before, brought him in over another coach that had been a head coach, had the experience. He deserves a lot of credit because I will go out on the limb right now and say in my lengthy lifetime already, I'm sorry to say, Corey Mace is one of the best coaches easily that I've ever seen in Saskatchewan, ever. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's hard to make that declaration when we're now, including playoffs, 27 games in. But I totally see what you're saying. I mean, Kent Austin, in his 1 year, very small sample size, looked pretty good. It was funny. I was at a sports dinner one night when Scott Schultz was there, and he was telling the audience, he says, I don't care how bad Ken Austin looks in Hamilton right now. That 1 year he coached us, he was perfect. And it kind of felt that way, just being around the team. But to your point, I mean, Ken Austin came into a situation that was kind of gravy. I mean, it was tailor-made for someone like him to come in and have success right away. That's not really the case for Corey Mace. Corey Mace came into a situation that looked a little dicey after the two previous years, and just his preparation is great. The way he deals with the players is great. The way he deals with the media is great, and you could even tell at his introductory press conference, Jeremy O'Day was kind of chuckling the whole time. That he's thinking, I so want to work with this guy, and who can blame him? So they hit a home run with that hire. I think it would be pretty hard to argue otherwise.
Well, you always think of Kent Austin as being this amazing quarterback in Saskatchewan because he was. And that drive to win the 89 Grey Cup was one of the greatest drives, if not the greatest drives in the history of Rough Rider football. But Trevor Harris is having such a great year. He's going to pass Kent Austin this season in passing yardage, basically passing stats. He's going to pass him. Kent Austin, I go, wow. Because he did a lot of this with other teams, not just the Rough Riders, but I thought, wow, Trevor Harris is going to pass Kent Austin. It makes you sort of realize how good this dude is.
Yeah, you know what really woke my eyes up to it is one day we had Dan Rasovich on the TV show, and he talked about how Harris really reminded him of Ken Austin. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, they were teammates every year in Saskatchewan. Dan had a front row seat to Kent playing offense, and he would have been sitting on the sideline watching for a lot of that while his defense was getting a breather. So, so that really caught my attention. And when you think about it, Kent didn't have the greatest career when it comes to longevity, I think, in that era, because he took a lot of hits, remember? And he was a tough SOB, and he would hang in the pocket. But, he got the ball out quickly. But at the same time, that was a different era when quarterbacks got abused a lot more than they do today. And Kent, I remember, he had his 7 years in Saskatchewan. I made the point that some players are just meant to play for one organization and not bounce around. Kent went out to BC, and he had a pretty good year. I think he passed for 5,000 yards, and they did win the Grey Cup. But it was Danny Mack's team, really, in the end, not Ken Austin's, in that Grey Cup 94 when they beat Baltimore. And then he went to Toronto, struggled there, went to Winnipeg, struggled there. The longevity just wasn't there. And Kent's career had pretty much wound down by the time he was 33, maybe 34. What fascinates me about Trevor Harris is this guy's almost 40. And he's playing his best football. And I used to view it as a real negative that the National Football League has all these extra spots and practice roster spots. I actually think it helps the CFL that most NFL teams don't use 3 quarterbacks on the roster. And there's a lot of opportunities for guys to hang around. There are a lot of players who will just hang around. But maybe that's okay. Maybe Henry Burris is the template. Henry Burris only had 1 year full of starts by the time he was 30. When he signed with the Calgary Stampeders, I think he had played a season and change worth of starts because he did the 1 year in Saskatchewan. The rest of the time he was sitting on the bench in Calgary or sitting on the bench in the NFL. And it worked out fine for him in his 30s. So the same has been true for Trevor Harris. He didn't have a lot of reps in his 20s. And I'm wondering if that's helped him in the long run, because there seems to be a little more tread left on his tire.
Yeah, I said last week on SportsCage that it looks like he can play at the age of 40 next season. He's if you take a look at his PFF and whatnot, he's right at the top of the league. In terms of PFF, he is number 1 in the league. He's having a tremendous year, and to say that he couldn't play at 40, right now I wouldn't believe that because of the job he's doing, and he keeps breaking his record every week for his passing percentages. He breaks his own record every week. It just keeps going. So I don't see why he can't play at 40. But anyway, let's get on to another more serious topic, I guess. There was that horrific shooting in New York, where the shooter was apparently trying to get at NFL headquarters in Manhattan. We don't know the whole story. Might it be just mental illness, or he could have possibly had CTE from playing football? Nobody knows. But to me, it sort of brought the CTE issue back because it's sort of floated away in both hockey and football a little bit lately. And it made me think about these Guardian caps. Now, the CFL announced at the end of last year that they had the less concussions in 24 than 23. And part of that was due, I believe they said this as well, that they wear Guardian caps in practice, which is a really good idea. I love it. I don't understand at all. I know they don't look as good as a shiny helmet, and there might be a little weight to them that players don't like. I don't understand why football, both NFL and CFL, don't go to mandate Guardian caps in games. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question, isn't it? And they're always very hesitant in professional sport to create their own nanny state where they're legislating some type of safety if the players themselves aren't overwhelmingly on board with it. Last year, I'm pretty sure it was last year, Thomas Bertrand Hudon was the first CFL player to wear one when he came out.
Yes.
And I thought and then I thought that it would become a trend, and it clearly did not. I think we saw more NFL players do it, to be quite honest, even on a per capita basis. But even down there, I'm surprised we don't see more of it. There, Tua Tagovailoa, I know a lot of fans listening have been following his journey, and a reporter asked him, "Are you going to wear a Guardian cap?" And he said, "Nope," and he got really, really defensive. And I thought, that's just so silly. I mean, silly that he has to explain why he's not going to wear it. He's just going along with the trend. But I also think it's sad that he feels like, it's almost like he's so insecure that he feels like he can't wear a Guardian cap.
It's a macho thing.
It's a macho thing. And the best example is probably in hockey. We had Don Cherry for so many years saying, don't wear a visor. It's better when you don't wear a visor. You perform better when you don't wear a visor. And I think that time has told us that Don Cherry, much of what he spewed was nonsense. I found him entertaining, and that was all great. Yeah. But how many fights did he really get into? How many times did he have to get all his teeth replaced or his eyes fixed? And now in the National Hockey League, if you're going to go without a visor, I can't remember off the top of my head if it's 15 games or 25 games you have to play with a visor first, then you can make that call. And the list of players deciding to go without a visor is very short. So that tells me that you could have mandated it a long, long time ago. It would have been just fine. Some argue that it gets more violent when you have all this protection. I don't buy that. That's what rules are for. That's what referees are for. And why they don't legislate it in, or why we just don't see more players wearing it, I think it's exactly that. At some point, they're just going to have to legislate it in. And you're right. The one excuse that I have heard is that they're a little bit heavy. And I do think that the bigger problems with hockey headgear and football headgear over the years that doesn't get talked enough about is the weight of it. For years, that was heavy to put that gear on. Not so much anymore. But if the Guardian caps are too heavy to wear in a game, then why are they wearing them in practice?
Well, there's
something just doesn't add up here.
Yeah, there's no competitive advantage. Both teams are wearing them, so both teams will have a little bit of weight. I have just one quick comment because Colson's saying we're going overtime, and I hope your daughters are enjoying the pool as well. And my comment is,
tell Colson to go away. We're going to talk football for the full hour here.
Yeah. And he just disappeared. That's crazy. I was going to say, you're back. I was going to say Sean Lemon back with the Montreal Alouettes, and I believe he should be. Brendan, you only have about 20 seconds to make your comment, but I believe he should be because he never bet that the Alouettes would lose a game, and I think the CFL made the right call to bring Sean Lemon back or allow him to play again.
I was always adamant that they shouldn't put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame because his teammate Johnny Bench said, what kind of a message does that send to everybody else? But the fact of the matter is, the way they handled it is consistent with the way the National Football League has been handling these similar situations. And it's not like what Sean Lemon did is even really all that comparable to what Pete Rose did. Pete Rose was in charge of a roster. Pete Rose did it repeatedly, and Pete Rose bet against his own team. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have to agree with you on that. And Sean Lemon has paid a heavy enough price. He lost a lot of playing time in some of his prime earning years, and he has the humiliation to go along with it. So there's that.
Thanks for joining us from the pool, Brendan. We really appreciate it. Sports Cage continues in just a moment.